You guys are listening to Lessons Learned. As a reminder, I am writing a book. I'm writing a book that I hope to be ready by Christmas. I have finished 3 chapters so far. Last week, I shared with you guys that introduction to chapter 1, and chapter 1 is titled Crown of Thorns is Greater Than King on a Throne. I'm going to share with you guys the next section of this chapter, and this section is titled Humility. Humility is something that's often talked about. Rarely do we communicate the actual definition. A quick Google search says this: it is the quality of having a modest and accurate view of one's own importance. It involves being aware of your limitations and gaps in knowledge, celebrating others' success without self preoccupation, and readily admitting you are wrong. If we had to shorten it, we could simply say this: others first. When people communicate the opposite of humility, I usually hear the word arrogance, which is an opposite of humility, but it is not the only opposite. Another opposite is insecurity. I don't mean the insecurity that leads to overcompensating and appearing arrogant. I mean the insecurity that leads to hiding. Arrogance is self promotion, insecurity is self protection. They are both self. One can't wait to hear their voice heard. The others feel like their voice should never be heard. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity speaks on this. He explains that meeting a humble person would not be what we would expect. It would not be the typical self-deprecation that we are accustomed to. The focus actually wouldn't be on self at all. Here is the full quote. Do not imagine that if you met a really humble man, he would be what most people call humble nowadays. He would not be a sort of greasy, smarmy person who was always telling you that, of course, he is a nobody. Probably all you would think about him is that he seemed a cheerful, intelligent chap who took a real interest in what you said to him. If you dislike him, it would be because you feel a little envious of anyone seems to enjoy life so easily. He will not be thinking about humility. He will not be thinking about himself at all. It has been well documented that clinical psychologists, when counseling someone with social anxiety, often challenge them to learn as much as they possibly can about the other person. The prescription is not to stop being so self consumed. The prescription is to focus on others. The prescription is humility. It is worth noting that there is such a thing as constantly focusing on others as a way to avoid problems within ourselves. Of course, that comes with its own separate set of issues, and I would argue still stems from our own pride. Still, it's why that in a world of self-help, self-improvement, self-discovery, we are more anxious and depressed than ever before. It seems as though self is not working for self. The biggest issue is that we have tried to discover self on our own. It has left us exhausted and depressed. Have you ever tried to put your kids' toys together without an instruction manual? You will get a similar result when you try to discover self without the one who created. Before I go into the following story, shout out to my wife for being a much better handyman than me. Lauren, I love you. One Christmas, I swear my beautiful and awesome wife, Lauren, must have been mad at me. She gave me a bunch of things that needed to be assembled: a basketball, patio furniture, and for some reason, our toilet broke in the middle of putting all this stuff together and it fixing at the exact same time. It was as if she was training me to become the husband of her dreams. Unfortunately, that is not what she got. Instead, she received impatience, irritability, and a few expletives, not directed at her, of course. I finally got the basketball hoop together and felt relieved, only to discover that I had assembled it backwards. The rim and the base of the hoop were facing in the same direction, which is not very helpful. You can discover bits of truth through self-discovery. That's an important point. You can discover bits of truth through self-discovery, self-help. You can arrive at things that look and sound correct. But somewhere along the way, without the creator, you're going to be putting something on backward. You're going to adopt a belief you were never meant to carry. Can't you hear Jesus' heart when he says, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. You will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Are you tired of the rat race? Are you tired of trying to figure out everything on your own? Are you tired of comparison, jealousy? Man, I don't know about you, but I don't want to figure myself out. That is exhausting. I want someone to figure me out, and thank God he has. I can't even settle on a dinner option, much less determine who I am. Imagine the peace that comes from a good creator telling you who you are. When you no longer have to worry about self, you can finally put your attention on others. Guys, imagine it's true. Imagine the creator of the world took on skin and bone. Imagine he was not born as a king, but born as a baby. Imagine his words, life, and miracles were so captivating that an entire kingdom was thrown into disarray with polarizing opinions. Imagine that, though sinless, he was brutally and publicly executed alongside criminals. Imagine hearing him say on the way to the cross, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." Then finally imagine the same creator knew all of it and didn't leave. Isn't that our fear? That people would leave? If my friends really knew me, they would leave. If my wife really knew me, she would leave. If my parents really knew me, they would leave. It often feels like people only have two options: condone our actions or leave us, not Jesus. Jesus is the only true combination of light and love that you will ever experience. Complete exposure, complete embrace. Not embracing your actions, embracing you, restoring you, reminding you that you are his. The world wanted a lion, but they got a lamb. The world wanted a king on a throne. Instead, we got a crown of thorns. Go live from this today. Understand that you are fully known and fully his. When you understand who you are able to put your focus on others, which is the true definition of humility. Hope you guys enjoy.